In this city, no one can hide from me. No one. I wasn't always this guy. They crossed a line, and for that, I will make them pay.
What does cinematics animation lead actually do in Watch Dogs?
That's a good question. It's overall the vision of the quality of animation that I take care of. I partake in casting processes. I'm on the motion capture shoot, and I have a big animation team behind me that executes on all the cinematics for the game.
We saw quite a lot of free roam in the actual game. So, what's your part in that respect, in addition to the traditional cinematics?
Well, obviously we're very involved in the narrative side of everything. It's not just the cinematics. Watch Dogs has a very strong linear history, very strong linear story, and it's important for us to still have a really wide, dense, and diverse open world. But the story itself is what's the key driver for Aiden Pierce in the Watch Dogs universe.
What's a typical good day for you in the office? What does it contain? What do you do, and with what kind of people you work with?
I love actually sitting around with the animators. We evaluate all the character rigs, look at the animations that's being put together for the game itself. That's a huge part of my job. The other side of it is, of course, being on set with actors. We have cast a phenomenal cast of actors for the game in Chicago, around the US as well, and they've been phenomenal to work with. So that's the two things that I mainly do.
How did you actually end up? You're originally from Denmark. How did you end up in Ubisoft Montreal?
After jumping around a little bit, I eventually went to Vancouver Film School, and then I went to Sweden to work 4 years at Grin in Stockholm. We had offices in Gothenburg and Barcelona as well at the time. But eventually, the economy kind of forced us to shut down. And Ubisoft in Paris head office contacted me and asked me what I was interested in, and an opportunity at Montreal Ubisoft presented itself. So that's how I ended up in Montreal.
The game has been in development for about 4 years now. Have you been part of that from the get-go?
It's been very exciting, but no, I've only been a part of Watch Dogs for about 1.5 years now, kind of in the execution of the story for the game itself. So all the production elements of it, actually shooting all the cinematics for the game, casting processes and everything like that. Before that, I was on an unannounced project at Ubisoft.
What do you consider being the biggest challenge in your line of work? Like, you have lots of actors and stuff to worry about. What's the hardest thing?
For games itself and the 3D medium, for me personally, one of my goals is emotions. Conveying realistic emotions through 3D characters in games that has a lot of constraints often is the biggest challenge. It's everything about how their faces come together to relay either if it's like empathy or anything like that, and that's something in games that we haven't seen that much of yet, I find. There are some games that do it really well, there's a lot of games that don't do it so well, but it's just because, not that they don't want to, it's just the sheer challenge of getting that there. And for us, even with current gen and next gen, it's some of those things that we look at and how we can push our story elements of the game. Better characters, more animations, more detail in everything. Like Jonathan mentioned in the presentation as well, with wind and all that, how that affects the environment, and also, of course, in the cinematics.
So you're probably expecting a lot, or welcoming the new generation of consoles and PC.
Yeah, absolutely. Next-gen consoles are always interesting. That's not to say that on the current gen it's still the same story, it's the same vision of the game, same core experience, but of course it allows us to push certain things a lot further. Even just today we demoed PS4 controller. We're looking into what we can do with that as well. There's the touchpad and all these other elements of it that's interesting to look at. So.
They think I'm a man out of control, but I've never had so much control.